Friday, July 18th. Welcome to AM Rockland's News. Today's forecast is 80 degrees and mostly sunny. That's a beautiful thing to hear. But hang on, Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be 83 and 83, but a high chance of rain and possibly thunderstorms on Sunday. Monday is going to be absolutely beautiful, high of 77 degrees and sunny. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're looking at 77, 80, 87, and 87, heading into the weekend of next. But as I always tell you, usually that forecast changes 5 minutes at this point before anything happens with the weekend. So don't take my word for it. Just check the various broadcasts and everything. And absolutely want to thank our sponsors and everybody that has helped with AM Rockland over the last several months. Let me just head over to our sponsor list. First of all, we'd like to thank 99 Signs. They signed on with us this month, and they've been with Rockland News for about a year now, and we really appreciate them. I know Greg for about 2 years. He's in our networking group on Thursdays. Fantastic individual, and he's kind of like the template for what I like to build is just a really good, solid foundational business that can serve a lot of people in Rockland County. They create signs for any size facility, small, medium, large. They recently did the sign for bridges, which is a huge thing. They just opened up a new facility yesterday. And 99 Signs, they really create absolutely beautiful signs. And they're doing signs for Rockland's Music Fest coming up on September 27th over at Clover Stadium, with the proceeds going to Meals on Wheels Rockland. But yeah, just a big thank you and total awesomeness to 99 Signs. We also want to thank Susan Bova from Coldwell Banker Realty, Yabu Fence Company, Dana Pest Control, Lauren Molino Muller from Howard Hanna Rand Realty, Kobe Sushi. They got a music lounge that's already open. They have jazz music on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Totally fantastic. And Sparkling Clean Homes, they have a late summer sale. Get your entire home cleaned for $199. Call 845 641 3223. And also special thanks to the Patriot Lounge up in Stony Point. Music every weekend over there, and St. Thomas Aquinas College. We'll have more sponsors in a little while. I have a guest that's going to be coming on momentarily, I hope. Someone kind of like a blast from the past, if you will. And Mike Dolce, he actually introduced me to podcasting. So if there's anyone to blame, it's him. All right. About 4 or 5 years ago, I know Mike for almost like about 7 or 8 years. We're in various business and networking groups together. We both have web design companies, and we both aim for best practices. Now, you figured, like, I think of them as competition or anything. It's actually quite the opposite. We think of each other as colleagues that can help each other. And notably, Mike introduced me years and years ago to accessibility tools that help people that are visually impaired to be able to view and understand websites. And he recommended a service that's out there called Accessiby, which is pretty much the industry standard for web-based accessibility. So huge kudos to Michael Dolce from MBD Studios. And he's going to be on today if time permits. I know he had to go at 9:30. Let me actually just text him because I need him to do this. I'm on right now. And basically, we're not even going to talk about business. We're going to talk about the new Superman movie. Now, there's a little bit of controversy about this, and it's like, oh, it's political, blah, 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 blah. Listen, and, I try not to take too many opinions. I try not to give too many opinions about local stuff that's happening unless it's like really egregious. Like Captain Obvious. I mean, there's opinions, and, everybody has different opinions. But on this one, I have to just say, even without checking out the movie, I want to get Mike's opinion on this because, I think the news cycle, not us, but the national news cycle nitpicked on some words that the director said. And they're like, oh, it's this, that, and the other and everything. But the way that Michael has characterized it with me, it's kind of more of like a feel-good movie, the way that they characterized the new Superman movie. And I remember back in, like 1978 was the original Superman movie. And here he is. I just introduced him before, but Mike Dolce from MBD Studios, Sire Studios Incorporated, comic book creator, absolute genius when it comes to graphics and storytelling, taught me how to podcast. So if there's
I
anyone
don't
to
know if I
blame,
taught you. that's
well, if there's
that's
anyone to
bold.
blame,
I
it's
love it
you.
though. I'll take it.
What's up, brother?
Nothing much. Nothing much.
Yeah.
Enjoying a Friday in the summertime.
Yeah, yeah, hot town. Well, not too hot today.
No,
Not
no,
as
it's actually it's pretty good out there. Not too bad.
agreed. So yeah, man, you saw the new Superman movie, and I was gonna try and check it out last Friday, but I had the Nanuet Town Center Summer Concert Series setting up, and I did time ran out. And I mentioned this before you hopped on the air, is like, a lot of people are picking up on. I think it's nitpicking of the director's words. Um, the way I looked at it when from all the trailers, and I haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen it yet. I'm sure a lot of people haven't yet, but it looked like just a feel good movie for, I mean, for youthful spirits. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. No. Look, it's a case of either mainstream media or the marketing people itself trying to create a controversy to stir up something. Now, again, it could be um, it could be on the part of Variety to get clicks to their website.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
also could be, you know, an ideological a moment for them to kind of claim Superman for a specific ideology and
yeah,
then try to get because if you look at a lot of the interviews that they do, especially on the red carpet, you know, you can tell they're really trying to goad the director and the actors and the people into saying something. Well, MAGA now is upset because you called it an immigrant story and blah blah
right,
blah. And if you actually
right,
even read the
exactly.
article that's derived from, he does say it's a political movie. He shouldn't have said that because it's not. There's
Yeah, yeah.
politics in it, but that's not the point of the movie. Nor if you watched the movie, if you did not hear a single quote from him and watched the movie, you'd be like, you would not even think twice whether or not it was a political movie or not. You would say, obviously not. It's a Superman movie. He
It's
goes
a
out and saves a
Superman
lot of
movie.
people.
Yeah,
He flies around in capes. He fights Lex Luthor. There's a dog that can fly. There's,
there's a
you know,
dog.
yeah, it's a movie. It's a Superman movie. So I just it upsets me because when I first read the headlines, I'm like, come on, are they really? I'll use this example. I loved the TV series The Boys. I say I loved
Okay.
it because the last season, I really it was so over the top political that it bothered the hell out of me to the point where I couldn't watch it. And I still haven't finished the season yet. And the first 3 seasons are amazing. It's supposed to be kind of a breakdown of you know celebrity culture plus what if you really were a superhero? You'd probably be a deranged maniac, which is what which is a theme that's been explored before. And they kind of and that's what the comic book was. And it was awesome. It was an awesome comic book, and it was an awesome adaptation because they basically stuck to it until around the middle of season 3 into season 4, when the series creator took it upon himself to you know
Yeah,
spout
ruin
his
it.
political ideologies through these characters, turning characters into metaphors for today's politics.
Yeah,
And it took me out of the show because that's not why I'm watching the show. I'm watching the show because it's entertaining. I want to be entertained. I don't need what I get on social media every day to be reflected in everything I watch and everything I do. And so it bothered me when James Gunn, when I read the headlines. But the more and more you dive into it, you're like, oh, okay. He honestly said people will take offense to my Superman, and I think he was talking more about the plot points.
hmm,
He tweaked a little bit of Superman's origins. They will take offense to that because I thought it was a bad idea, but I don't think it was a politically motivated idea. It was just an idea he had. I don't
hmm.
think it worked, but that's the one thing I think he'll take offense to. As far as the allegory of immigration and things like that, they don't ever refer to him as an immigrant in the movie. He's an alien. That's what he is. Yes, you
Yeah,
can make the metaphor if you really want to. If you really want to make this a political movie, there's enough seeds in there where you can say, "Oh my God, you see, he's got this message. He's got this message." But if you just go in there to watch a movie, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. You're going to be pleasantly not surprised. You're going to get what you expect. You're going to be very happy. It's a Superman movie. You leave feeling very optimistic, positive, hopeful. Again, there's some plot
Yes.
things, but that's
Yeah,
it's not what
absolutely.
it says. It's not what Variety and a lot of mainstream outlets are trying to make it into.
Yeah, I agree. And every Superman movie and or series that I watch, I especially with that particular IP, intellectual property.
Right.
I always think that the theme has been all the way through, even though the last iteration, in DC, toward the end, they kind of just they didn't do such a great job. I think everything kind of went downhill when
Mm-hmm.
Batman and Superman are fighting, and it's like your mama's name's Martha, my name is
Yeah.
named
Yep.
Martha. Let's be friends. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, ah.
No. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
it took a dark turn with
Yes.
that entire universe, and
Yeah.
everything just got darker and
Yeah.
dystopian and primordial ooze, and I'm just like,
Yep.
and I think that's one of the reasons why that particular universe failed in the end, because there's just too much of that. It's like,
Yes.
let's flip it around. And and again, I haven't seen the movie, and by the way, you're doing a great job not giving away any spoilers. I
Oh
have to.
yeah. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You don't. Yeah.
you know?
And that was the whole point of my article too. Was I'm not here to tell you about the movie. There are a couple details I give later on in the article, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's not going to give away anything about the plot. But it's there to just tell you you can go in and just expect to have a 1970s comic book come to life because that's really what it is. There's definitely some tonal things in it that um, I was a little disappointed in some of the language because I'm sitting there going, I don't know if I can bring my kid to see this now because
Mhm. Yeah,
he's 9. He probably has to be like 12, maybe 11 and 12. Not that he doesn't look, not that
yeah.
anyone doesn't hear the S word or things like or hear the B word. I'm sure
Mhm.
he's heard it. I know he's heard it. I know he said it. But it's not something I necessarily would want to bring. I definitely wouldn't want to bring my 6-year-old to see it because I think it's
Right.
just not appropriate for her. 9, 10 years old, that's you're on the border of that. So I mean, there's some things again I can nitpick, but ultimately, if you're like 12 and up, go see it. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely it's made for it's made to watch in the movies, in the theaters. It's a great kickoff to the summer box office, and I'm hoping Fantastic Four will kind of follow online.
You mentioned about how, for instance, the show The Boys, and it kind of went off script, and then it started bringing in different thought processes and stuff like that. And it kind of reminded of me of basically what happened toward the tail ends, the last two or maybe three seasons of Game of Thrones.
Sure.
Because and obviously a guy that sits down for like years on end and writes a huge series of books about an entire ancient universe with really
Mm-hmm.
cool dragons, at some point it's just be like, I gotta go grab some coffee instead.
Yeah.
And but while as soon as that happened, they're like, yeah, we're gonna take it in a different direction. And I was personally disappointed with the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just I don't know. It hit the ending was good as far as the action, but then like the postscript, like the denouement, as they would say in Clerks,
Mm-hmm.
was just like, I don't know. Did you feel like the Superman movie had obviously they're keeping it open for the future, but it had a good closure to the end of the movie? In other words, like did it create that sort of vibe like, all right, this was totally worth it?
Yeah, no, it does. You walk out feeling good about it. There's like I said, there's definitely some head scratchers in it.
Mhm.
But then you walk out overall feeling good. And then the day later, I'm like, yeah, I feel good about that movie. And that's honestly all you can ask for. I
Totally.
think is to say, it was worth the, whatever, $20 or whatever we spent on the tickets.
Yeah, totally. Where so you did the article on Substack, right?
Yes.
Okay. What is your what's the web address so that I could let everybody know about this?
Sure. You can go to sirestudios.substack.com and you can check it out there. You can subscribe. I got a
Mhm.
lot of followers on that. It's a lot of fun. And you know, I will mostly just discuss stuff I'm doing um, in the comic book world, but every now and again, something relevant like this, definitely wanted to say something about it.
Absolutely. And I'm pretty sure I'm already subscribed, but I just double subscribed. So I definitely want to read this article. I didn't get a chance to. It's been so busy, and I know you're busy too. How's everything going? I mentioned MBD Studios.
Yeah.
You get the comic book series always generating. You know.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I'm working with I have my publishing company Dren Productions with a buddy of mine, and things are really taking off. We got Smokey Bear. It's
Mm,
up on Kickstarter right now. So if you go to drenproductions.com/Smokey, you could back the Smokey Bear Kickstarter. And that's been going great. And just got San Diego Comic Con next week, so I'm sure I'll be giving my report when I get back.
totally. Smokey Smokey. I just
That's it.
learned
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Smokey's Junior Rangers, the first Smokey Bear comic in over 50 years. A fun camping trip turns into a magical lesson in fire safety when Smokey the Bear arrives, and that just goes to show, Mike. I mean, we've been in the trenches a long time on digital creation, but you're like keeping on going with it because I mean, you pick up an IP like Smokey the Bear.
Well, that's it. I mean, and we're really, like I said, Dren's really growing, and I've got a lot of cool books coming out through them. I got a couple. I have two different new stories going to be coming out in 2026 that I'm just super excited about, and I'll give more information when that happens too.
Amazing. Well, Mike Dolce from Sire Studios Inc., thank you for being on the Rockland News AM Rockland show today. And just as a reminder for everybody, you could catch him at sirestudios.substack.com and also on Sire Studios Inc. And finally, if you would like to learn more about the Kickstarter, check it out, brenproductions.com/Smokey. And Mike, I hope to hear from you and talk with you soon, brother.
Thanks so much.
All right, you got it. Mike Dolce, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so let's get into the news. Obviously, everybody, you noted that I have been having a little bit of a struggle this week trying to get all of the news together. I mean, really, the last broadcast that we did was with our friend John Sandak from Outsource My IP. And I spoke with him off the air while we were talking, and I basically said to him, listen, man, why don't you hop on as a more often co-host, person that's just basically participating in this new AM Rockland series that we've been doing for, I would say, like about 3 months now. And just as a backstory to this, like I mentioned before, one of the reasons why we're doing this is because there is no morning news that's in, well, let's just say that's on audio. Okay. Now, obviously, you're going to go on to News 12. You're going to go to LowHUD. Obviously there's some great publications out there. We have our own rocklandsnews.com, but we're not the only players in this small fishbowl that's Rockland. You know, you got Rockland County Biz Journal, quite frankly, and I don't necessarily agree with all of the opinions that are on there. But I have to say, as I always do, that I know that Tina Traster does indeed do her homework. So, she basically digs into the details and everything. Opinions always vary, of course, but certainly a very well researched set of news items. And, so there is that. There's obviously, some personal things in there, but that's fine. Um, what else? And you have obviously the Rockland Report. We actually, fun fact is we have another player that's out there that just showed up, and the name of it is, wait, let me see if I could find it because I commented on it this morning. Um, Wait, where is it? Build something about, like it's all about Rocklands and everything. Uh, be big Rockland, be something Rockland, be real Rockland. I don't know what it is, but it's basically, we have 8,000, social media, Facebook pages that, promote things around here. And I think the later and later you get to the game, it gets a little bit more dicey because how do you get more audience? You got to have amazing content. I'm telling that to you guys right here. But the truth of the matter is that like they posted a picture. It's like you got to be on Be Real Rocklands and everything. And they posted a picture of the TZ Cuomo Bridge, but the social media sphere underneath it basically said, that's a picture of Westchester. And listen, I'm not obviously not going to formulate my opinion on this, but I do wish you guys best of luck. Welcome to the very small fishbowl that is Rockland County. and hopefully you get to medium-sized fish level as soon as possible. And if not, hey, there's always other things to do. We'll see how it goes, right? What else is going on? All right, let's head over to the news and start talking about it. I'm headed over to rocklandsnews.com to check out all the things that are happening. First of all, we had County Executive Ed Day that was on Tuesday at 3 o'clock for his weekly show. And he basically mentioned about, first of all, the huge freaking storms that happened on Monday that flooded Route 59, flooded parts of, like, for instance, like Muncie and Airmont. I spoke with Mayor Joe Randon-Nyack. He mentioned that mostly that the buildings in that area, they did okay and everything's cool. So, no major damage. But I mean, Nanuet, man, they got the brunt of it. I mean, for instance, the Nanuet Public Library, my my wife works at the Nanuet Library. It's closed until further notice. Significant water damage that occurred, especially in the teen room and several other rooms of the library, uh, flooded. Thankfully, the books were largely safe. It was just floor damage, but a lot of remediation has to happen. And certainly is closed today. No reports on if the library will be closed next week. If we get word about that, we'll let people know. But the good news about this is that from what I spoke with sources over there, I see one of my sources, my wife, but basically, it's actually, I mean, if you want to put a lining, a bright lining on this, is basically it's better that the water damage happened now before an upcoming $11 million renovation of the facility. It's like knowing the problems first before the investment happens, so you can mitigate the risk in the future. So big plus on that. County Executive Day also talked about the first detected West Nile virus was found in a pool of mosquitoes, but no human cases were reported about it. So, just everybody be safe. Wear your bug spray, especially when you're outdoors next to lakes and various things like that. And we should also note that our colleagues from Dana Pest Control, one of the sponsors of the show, also mentions that they do have excellent ways of preventing mosquitoes from entering your home. Protect the outside, protect the inside of your home, and you can visit them at danapestcontrol.com. You can also call them at, let me just bring up the phone number. It is 877-966-2847. Two generations of pest expertise. They can get rid of tons of pests in your home, except for your family members. Discreet and prompt solutions for your home. And they also do commercial. So let's say, for instance, if you have a restaurant or you have a building that has a lot of people in it, and you do commercial or retail business, they can get you on a maintenance plan where their team comes in and makes sure that on an ongoing basis, everything is protected from these, people that, not people, rodents and, insects and creepy crawlies that are pests, not people. The people are nice. We like people. But they're a second generation family owned business. They offer nearly 50 years of pest management expertise in serving Westchester, Rockland, and Orange counties. Check them out at danapestcontrol.com, or you can visit 877-966-2847. You can't visit it, you could call it. 877-966-2847. Visit them on the web at danapestcontrol.com. We also want to thank Yabu Fence Company for not just being with us for about 12 or 13 years. We manage their website. We do their advertising on Google via my first company, Rockland Web Design. But I also want to thank Yabu Fence Company for sponsoring the Rockland Music Fest, which is going to be over at Clover Stadium on September 27th. Proceeds to Meals on Wheels Rockland. And we're just going to have an amazing time over there. And thank you very much to Yabu Fence for sponsoring the festival. We'll be in touch. We're going to be plastering your banners all over the place. And I also got you, by the way, Joe, if you're listening from Yabu Fence, I got you lined up with a great band that aligns with the brand, and Yabu Fence has been in business for literally since 1965, also family owned in West Nyack, New York. yabufence.com, and you could catch them by calling them at, hang on 1 minute, is 845-358-0118. Adirondack chairs are on sale for $299, and they could put the perfect fence around your property. Picket fences, wooden fences, PVC piping fences. They do commercial projects. They do a whole bunch of awesome stuff. So anyway, thank you, Yabu Fence Company. Some more news coming up. Let's see. Bridges did a renovation of a home in New City. It's a not-for-profit organization. We know them well. They were actually part of Rockland, not Rockland Music Fest. They didn't. I didn't. We have a different charity for it this year. But Stony Music Fest number 10. They were the charitable recipients. So the organization is set to begin an exciting, groundbreaking project in New City. The organization has acquired a home at 4 Ann Street, where it will undergo a transformative renovation using universal design principles to create a space that is accessible, functional, and inclusive for people of all abilities. You can catch that article over at rocklandnews.com. And finally, let's talk about the Chippy pipeline. Just some updates. So the pipeline is being installed. I spoke with representatives this week, and essentially, there's two traffic arteries that are a little bit clogged right now due to ongoing construction. The first is up in Stony Point, the northbound, going over the James A. Farley Bridge. Is still being worked upon, and you figure that that's going to continue to happen throughout the rest of this month. So there's going to be some traffic delays. Again, there are detours. I should also note that a small group over in Congress notified me, and they're looking into solutions to try to remediate the situation over in the Congers Valley Cottage area, because that industrial corridor, at least according to the people that I spoke with, they had mentioned to me that construction that's happening in the area, like it's literally in front of several different businesses. So it's knocking business down. And one person mentioned to me in confidence, won't name names, of course, it was off the record, but he mentioned that he's had to put at least $30,000 of his own money back into the business to keep it afloat while this construction happens directly in front of his facility. So it's a thing, and they're basically these entities have contacted Rockland News, and they're putting together their own information that they'd like to put out there to the press. And I should also note, for those of you, if you have concerns or if you need to contact Champlain Hudson Power Express, you can call 800-991-2473. You can also send an email to public outreach at chpexpress.com. So I'll just spell that out because it's audio. chpexpress.com. And you could go to chpexpress.com to learn more about the project. It is a 339-mile pipeline that's going in from Canada all the way down to New York City. And that brings up another small detail that I'd like to convey in this long-awaited episode of No Names. So yesterday, as I was driving up Route 9W, not by the Champlain Hudson Power Express construction, but in the middle, somewhere between, I want to say, TD Bank and the Stony Point Diner. Well, there were some protests going on. Now, I am not going to speak about national politics. I have aimed very clearly to steer very, very far away from national politics, because the way that I look at it, the Serenity Prayer indicates to us that we should work on the things that we can change, not work on the things that we can't change, and also to have the wisdom to know the difference. I think that's a fairly safe assessment. Thusly, during these Rockland News broadcasts, I aim to not bring in national politics into it. And you heard before, while I had my colleague Mike Dolce on the line, who shares my view on this, we keep our cards close to our chest when it comes to national stuff. Okay. I should also note that everybody has a right to protest. Okay. Whether you agree or not, that's fine. But the people that were protesting, and again, no names, really grind my gears. I think that's the way of safely putting it. And I'm not going to name the names, but the people, specifically certain people, and you know who I'm talking about. If you live up in Stony Point, you know, really bother me. And here's why. Do you know that chippy pipeline that's going through Rockland? About 15 years ago, I got a very, very large document in the mail while I was living at 62 East Main Street. And it was from maybe some well meaning people, such as these individuals, because they wanted the chippy pipeline to not go through an area that had next to it, not through it, not under it, next to it, a burial ground. Now, listen, I'm all for respecting burial grounds, okay? But I'm telling you for the record, and I looked through these documents, that pipeline, that wasn't going through a burial ground. That was going far, far away. And when I say far, far away, I mean many, many yards away from the area where the burial ground is. It would not have disturbed anyone. And by the way, if I'm wrong about that, I invite somebody from the crowd that was out there yesterday. I invite them to come on the show now because I got some questions for you. I have a lot of questions because if that didn't happen where the protest against Chippy happened literally 10 years ago, well, we wouldn't have these traffic jams in the middle of 9W because the pipeline would have been installed years and years and years ago away from Route 9W, and Canada would have been delivering energy to New York City by now. I don't know if you noticed this, ladies and gentlemen, but we're in a bit of disarray when it comes to financials, when it comes to traffic patterns, when it comes to what projects should be backed and what projects should be not. And I'm going to tell you something. You know, I may not always get it right. As a matter of fact, I do get it wrong on a consistent basis for small things. But when you have to go Nostradamus on certain things and you just look through the lens of wisdom and you say, you know what? What's going to happen if this particular thing is changed? What's going to happen to it now? This is a Canadian company that's aiming to deliver sustainable energy down to New York City. New York City, it's going to account for 20% eventually of New York City's energy. And this organization that was out there yesterday seems to think that, well, we'll just disrupt everybody else's lives around here because we don't like, you know, the fact that this is getting so close to this particular area. Again, not in it. Not even close near it, by my opinion. This thing could have been in the river, going down by the train tracks and headed straight down to the city. But that's not the only thing that grinds my gears about these guys, because they have been in the way of economic development in this area for the last 15 years. Now, I got a music festival that I got to run. And I got a whole Nanuet Town concert series that I got to run. And I got a lot of decisions that I got to make over the next 2 months to make sure that Meals on Wheels Rockland gets as much donation money as possible from our many, many, many people that are helping with this effort. Again, Meals on Wheels, they're celebrating their 50th year helping seniors in Rockland County. And we're going to have an amazing time. If everything goes right, we got a headliner music band. We got a whole bunch of local bands, and they're all getting paid for their good efforts to create a really good time over at Clover Stadium on September 27th. And I hope if you're listening to this, you know that I mean it. We're going to bring the rock back to Rockland. But I look around and I see that Letchworth project, that building, that conference center, that could have been built by Raj Amar and his companies, the owner of the largest number of T-Mobile franchises in all of the United States, would have put in smart business conference center to bring in quality tourism to the area. West Point, every single year, has our day in June and July around that time. Hotels around here pack up. It made total logical sense. But you know what? We don't have that. You know why? Because these guys that were protesting out by Stony Point Diner and the TD Bank, and again, they have a right to protest, but they showed up again in droves. While Raj was doing a very logical PowerPoint presentation about the project, and these guys showed up and started yelling him down. And I kept my mouth shut, just like I did during the Biden era. And when he fell ill, I said nothing. I actually prayed for him. I mean that. I really, really mean that. Because I don't want anybody in harm. Nobody wants that. Okay? But what has been harmed, not nationally, but in this area, in Stony Point, has been economic development. And I stayed on the North Rockland Chamber for 15 years trying to build up economic development. And in hindsight, as I stepped down about 5 months ago, because it was my time, the term was over, the chamber's in great hands, and now I can speak about this a little bit more. One of the big reasons why economic development has not happened in this area is because of one organization, SPACE, SPACE. And it's about time that somebody stood up to them. Now, I'm not a politician. You can hear it in my voice. I'm too passionate for that thing. Okay? Smart decisions have to be made. A lot of different things have to happen, both from a financial, town, legal standpoint, all those things. I'm not the person for that sort of job. And I personally think that Supervisor Jim Monahan has done an excellent job over the last 10 years holding the line. But I can no longer sit back and say that this organization, SPACE, is doing any good for this area, because you know what they wanted in place of a conference center? Walkable gardens with koi ponds. So this is a message to SPACE and whoever's involved with it. 2026, I'm back. I have no obligations to the North Rockland Chamber of Commerce. I'm a private business owner in Stony Point that resides in Stony Point, and I have had it. I didn't even mind when one of the people in SPACE sued the town because he didn't get enough airtime at the town board meetings on Facebook Live. By the way, you shouldn't have Facebook Live going during public commentary. It's a town board meeting. Why does, France need to see public comments in a town board meeting that doesn't affect them? Logic, people. Public comments should not be on. What the town board says, oh, certainly. Okay? So one of the members of SPACE, they ended up suing the town. They lost. But guess who had to pay the legal fees for that? If you live in Stony Point. You, me, and every resident, every one of these 14,000 people had to pay for the legal fees in order to fight that lawsuit. And thankfully they won. But what is SPACE actually doing? And to the head of the organization, as I close out this particular chapter of No Names, and duly be noted that I will indeed be back in 2026 after all the music stuff is done. I'm headed to town board meetings every single time. And I'll have one single question for members of SPACE that happen to go up and protest about this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. I have one single start to everything is I have questions. So I hope you'll be answering them, members of Space, because yesterday, as I drove past, I realized that I was very angry. And there's only two things that you can do with anger. You can either hold it in, or at some point, you have to channel it and turn it into something positive. So when I come back to these town board meetings, I'm going to make sure that my frustration gets channeled into something positive. And the bottom line is, quite frankly, the positive thing out of this is the next time that economic development possibilities happen in the town of Stony Point, where I live and where I do business, Space will have too many questions to answer in order to be relevant. Anyway, so that is my edition of No Names. I hope you enjoyed, laughed, got angry, got frustrated, whatever have you. It's okay. Um, I'm hoping that I could do this in a positive way, but dialing it back, I have to tell you that the more important thing for me long term, and especially right now, is the Rockland Music Fest series. We have a great band that's playing over at the Nanuet Town Center tonight. It's going to be starting at 7:30. We have the Femme Fighters that are playing, and they're amazing female-driven rock band that really knows how to bring the energy. They play Pat Benatar. They play all sorts of amazing music, and they're going to be over at the Nanuet Town Center starting at 7:30. And I want to thank our sponsors. The Nanuet Town Center is sponsoring the event, as well as Buffalo Wild Wings. They're going to be having the after party for us. So stick around for the whole event, and then they're going to have some discounts on food and appetizers and drinks. And I promise when I show up, I am not going to be upset in any way, because to me, music is life. We want to thank a lot more of our sponsors: Ivy Rehab Physical Therapy, Fiesta Acapulco, Stony Point Pancake Factory, North Rockland Chiropractic, Dr. Anna Marie, she adjusts my back, Clean Space Maintenance and Management Company, Outsource My IT with my good friend and colleague John Sandak, and we have Banchetto Restaurant, FC Perfection, St. Thomas Aquinas College. My name is Tom Oza. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next. Take care.